often get asked why I want to be a wildlife photographer. Most people tell me they think it looks dangerous or glamorous. It can be dangerous, but you have to stay smart, and even then you can still get in trouble. As far as glamour, I often come back hot or really cold, exhausted, and I only have part of the work done. The reason I do it is because I love it, or I wouldn't have changed most of my lifestyle for it. I love being one with nature, and I love the fact that I get to experience things that most people could only imagine. In May of 2012, on a visit to Yellowstone National Park, I discovered how deep my passion for nature photography went. I was in a new place that was so different from anywhere I had ever been that every moment was an amazing experience. I found myself captivated by the popular sites like Old Faithful and the lower falls in the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, but it was the unexpected events that truly captured my heart and memories. I often find myself encountering wildlife that I normally wouldn't see on the plains of Kansas or in the backwoods of Tennessee. Yellowstone was where I saw my first moose, elk, black bear, and grizzly bear in the wild. One of those encounters was a little too close for comfort. On my first morning in Yellowstone, my aunt and I were up early and headed out for a short hike to get the day started. We headed up a trail that was close to Mammoth Hot Springs. At the top of the hill, I stopped to catch my breath and took a few pictures of the surrounding area. As we headed down the trail, we were constantly scanning the land ahead of us for wildlife and tracks. We noticed that there were several elk around us, and we knew we were hiking through a herd. Suddenly, in front of us, an elk that had been hidden by a small rise in the trail and a sage bush stood up. It was only a few feet away, but I had no desire to get any closer. I slowly pulled my camera up to take some pictures as we backed away from the animal. That is when I truly learned I was in their territory. Luckily, nothing happened. We headed back down the trail, and the elk continued eating. That's why I tell people you always have to look and listen. Be aware of your surroundings. But even then, you can still be startled by something that you didn't know was there. One of my favorite moments at Yellowstone actually happened when we were getting ready to leave the park for a few hours, and we came across a herd of bison that were preparing to cross a river. We pulled off the road in order to get a better look at the herd as they began to cross a small river. It was cold and had just stopped snowing. I got out of the car and found a good spot to get some shots. There was a young calf that kept hesitating when it would get to the edge of the water. It would go to the edge and call out to its mother, then turn back. At one point the calf jumped in, but then it quickly got back out. As it waited, the rest of the herd crossed until the calf and two young bulls who had been fighting were the only ones left. As the bulls entered the water, the calf hesitated, but it finally jumped in and crossed the river. Cold and tired, the calf was reunited with the herd and its mother. Encountering animals in the wild can be exhilarating. You always have to keep your wits about you. Listen to the experts if they're available, but even if they're not, stay smart and don't get too comfortable, especially when your encounter is with a bear. We decided to drive around Mammoth Hot Springs one afternoon, and it was there that I had an incredible encounter with a cinnamon black bear. We came around a corner and noticed a small group of photographers with their cameras pointed at a tree. Up in the tree was a female bear sleeping. We joined the photographers and learned that there were two cubs further up the tree. Unfortunately, I was unable to get a good photo of the cubs, but the mother came down and made her presence known. She walked and rolled around just in front of us, keeping one eye on the cubs and one eye on us. I must admit, as I snapped pictures of her, I was trembling. That was my first experience being that close to a predator in the wild. We watched her for a long time until she left the cubs in the tree and disappeared into the brush. That was an awesome experience that I won't soon forget. I learned a lot that day from the park ranger and from the other photographers. Being a photographer is about learning and adapting. Next time we'll go back to Yellowstone, where I had to learn to adapt to the ever-changing weather. Until then, keep exploring.